Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. You know, the original meme was that Alex Jones was right jar, right? Just stacking it up. Every time he's right, put a coin in. And of course, at one point, that jar was pretty much packed to the brim. Well, you know what? At this point, I think we ought to start paying attention to the Trump was right jar. Another jar that certainly is full. In fact, I think it might even be more full. It might even be overflowing at this point, because it's issue after issue where he's attacked and lambasted as some crazy person pushing the most insane, kooky conspiracy theories. And time again, Donald Trump is proven right. Just yesterday, Democrats were outraged. They were outraged that Donald Trump released a statement declaring the Black Hawk mid-air crash with the commercial airliner as being preventable. Leftists across the internet were feigning moral outrage. How could Donald Trump ever say something like that, especially since it's his fault, right? That's the argument they were making. Yep, everything's his fault, even though he's been in office for less than 2 weeks. But anyways, they took big issue with Donald Trump claiming that this was preventable and that he would be getting to the bottom of this. And well, would you look at that, literally the next day, we're finding out that he was totally right. This was clearly preventable. And the facts here continue to highlight just how bad air traffic control has gotten thanks to policies implemented by the previous 2 Democrat administrations. Let's continue to get to the bottom of this. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Okay, so like I said, it turns out that Trump was right in his assessment. New information is now coming out from a former air traffic controller, and he's saying that this helicopter/plane crash could have easily been prevented, and for multiple reasons. Take a look.
This is a preventable disaster. The system has been under attack due to DEI and the FAA bowing to wokeness since 2010, since the Obama administration. The lack of staffing is directly attributable to the Obama administration terminating the lists of eligible, well-trained air traffic control statements in 36 universities across the country in 2013 because they were too white. The FAA also, at the same time, implemented an immunity program. So you think you're seeing legitimate statistics, you're not. In the old days, before 2010, the immunity program, if an air traffic controller got 2 airplanes too close, too many times, they would be decertified and retrained. Now, they're not. All they have to do within 48 hours of being noticed or being investigated for a potential separation error, they're called operational errors in the FAA, the controller just simply has to avail themselves of this program that gives them immunity. And when I say immunity, I mean immunity. The FAA cannot retrain these people. If somebody has a repetitive instance of malfeasance or lack of competency, the FAA, because of this immunity program, cannot rectify the situation. They have to basically allow the person to remain in the same position. It's very, very difficult for the FAA to retrain a controller, and it's attributed to, quite frankly, the union and the FAA working together to basically use this program to gerrymander the statistics.
And so here's the thing. The left is pretending as if this came out of nowhere, but there's actually a backstory here. There's a whole lot of context. You know, I know there's leftoids like Harry Sisson trying to take advantage of this tragic situation to score cheap points.
Donald Trump trying to blame DEI or Joe Biden or Obama for the devastating plane crash in Washington, D.C. is truly one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen. And Donald Trump's whole argument that it was DEI is gross on its face. Like, he's blaming non-white men for this tragedy when there's absolutely no evidence to back any of that up. He's just saying it. It is completely wrong and irresponsible for the President of the United States to be speaking this way, especially when it pertains to American lives who have just been lost. Trump will consistently put bad things that happen on other people, even if it makes absolutely no sense.
So let me just get this straight. Donald Trump fired the head of the TSA last week and also gutted a key aviation safety advisory committee. Elon Musk also forced out the head of the FAA, and until today, there was no leader of the FAA. And then Donald Trump also implemented a federal hiring freeze, including air traffic control workers, which has been very understaffed in recent years. And now we're just learning that the airplane towers on the night of the crash in Washington, D.C. were understaffed, and one person was doing the job of 2 people. All of this happened under Donald Trump's administration. It seems like Donald Trump is doing what Trump does best. He's incapable of taking any amount of responsibility for anything. It must always be somebody else's fault. We have a man-child in the Oval Office.
Making, honestly, these pathetic arguments as if Donald Trump being in office for less than 2 weeks and him firing a bunch of useless bureaucrats who had nothing to do with the situation is to blame here. He even at one point mentioned there that they were supposedly understaffed on the day, but that's objective fake news. We actually have a report that totally debunks that claim. This report states that the supervisor who was on the shift that day let air traffic controller leave his shift early right before the DC plane crash. So Harry Sisson's making the claim that Donald Trump fired people and that's why they were understaffed, but actually the supervisor let one of the air traffic controllers go home early, and that's why there was one person supposedly doing the job of 2. It's nothing but a misdirection. And what are they misdirecting from? Well, they're misdirecting from the fact that Donald Trump is probably right, and I'd say distracting the people from the fact that this is not, again, something that happened out of nowhere. No, Republicans have been warning about this for a long time.
Secretary Buttigieg and President Biden's DEI initiatives, which hire and promote people based on their physical characteristics over their merits and qualifications, violate Title VII and the Constitution. In critical public safety roles such as air traffic control, it is essential to have the best possible candidate based strictly on professional qualifications and merit. Efforts by the Biden administration to factor race, gender, and sexual orientation into hiring and promotion decisions puts the traveling public at risk and deepens the staffing shortages we've seen throughout the FAA. Under this administration, we saw the first national ground stoppage since September 11th. My constituents regularly face delays caused by shortages in air traffic control staffing, delays that I'm sure many of my colleagues have also experienced.
We are hoping to get a response, and we're hoping that the FAA in its response will change its hiring practice, go back to what it did before, and that is hire simply based on skill. I mean, I think it's outrageous that the FAA would not only be doing this, but apparently proud that it's making passenger safety take a back seat to diversity.
And really, to truly put it into perspective, Glenn Beck's The Blaze Media actually did a small documentary piece on this exact issue.
In the past year, the number of close calls between commercial airliners has surged to nearly 3 per week. So what's changed? Well, it turns out a lot has. Manufacturing issues, government incompetence, the COVID pandemic, absurd diversity policies. These are just some of the many concerning developments.
But Democrats, of course, want to reframe the topic. Oh, it's Donald Trump's fault because he's a fascist dictator that's just firing people. And now there's no air traffic controllers or understaffed because of him. How can I describe this accurately? Actually, yeah, what a crock of shit. This has been an issue for a long time, and Donald Trump is right. DEI probably played a role, and this tragedy was obviously preventable. Absolutely unbelievable. I mean, they want us to be outraged at the direction that Donald Trump is trying to take the conversation, but I'm outraged at the direction that they're trying to take the conversation. If it's not straight up lying, then of course it's despicable identity politics.
Once again, Donald Trump's target is people of color, women, or just anybody without the name Donald Trump.
Why did he come out so quickly to try to attack women and black people for ruining the FAA?
And the leader of this country decides to go out and peddle lies, conspiracy theories, and attack people of color and women.
Yeah, the new Democrat talking point that's been handed down is again trying to divide people, playing identity politics, and accusing Donald Trump of blaming women and black people for this horrible tragedy. What a horribly, emotionally manipulative talking point that is. And of course, it's not accurate. It's yet again a bad faith argument being made by the left, and they obviously know it. Trump's not attacking minorities and women. He's simply calling out the lowering of standards as being an issue here. And he's absolutely right. What Trump is actually saying, and what anyone with an ounce of common sense understands and can comprehend quite easily, is that lowering hiring standards in life and death jobs like this, well, will probably lead to these exact kind of preventable disasters. And that's exactly what the whistleblowers are saying. That's what the lawsuits that we covered yesterday are alleging. Again, Trump's not just pulling this out of nowhere. It's been an issue for a long time. It actually goes back to the Obama administration, as the former air traffic controller who went on Fox News continues to blow the whistle so clearly stated. The Democrats want to blame Trump, but once again, Trump seems focused on fixing the mess that Joe Biden and Barack Obama created. What happened here was the result of incompetence, which could very likely be connected to the FAA's new hiring practices. Sure, it's a little bit of a leap, maybe an early assumption, but it's basically the most rational assumption that we have so far. And again, Democrats want to pull us down into the mud with them, but it's not going to work. It's time to bring back hiring practices that prioritize merit and competence over race and gender quotas. That's not a crazy conspiracy theory. That's common sense, especially when it comes to such an important, critical job like being an air traffic controller. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.